Hello and welcome back to Handpanuary. It is day 3 of week 3. Just a reminder that if you want the notation for any of these exercises, they are available on Patreon. Today we're having a look at some harmonics exercises, or rather we're just going to have a look at how to make harmonics. We'll do two-handed harmonics and also one-handed harmonics, as well as bends. This week is all about finding new sounds out of your handpan by using more intricate little techniques. So first things first, we'll start on the ding because that's a little bit easier. In order to find the harmonic, what we need to know is that a note is made up of 3 parts. There's the fundamental tone, which is the tone that you hear when you strike the instrument. Then there are 2 harmonics. There is the octave, so if this is, then we have, or maybe I could sing it, right, we have the direct octave above. Then we have the 5th above that, so 5 notes above the octave. Which is this one? Do, 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 do. Right? In order to find those, what we need to do is imagine that our ellipsis here of the note is split like this. It's got a cross across it, so one way along the short way and one way along the long way of the note. It's got an imaginary cross. Here then, to find the 5th of the instrument, we're going to place our any finger, I use my middle finger, very, very gently on one side of that cross. And then 90 degrees from that, we're going to strike the instrument. I usually strike a little bit flatter in order to get a bit more of that slap sound and allow it to cut through a bit more. But you can experiment. If you find that it's not working, it might be that your finger is just ever so slightly kind of off the imaginary line of that harmonic. So it might be worth just moving around and seeing what you like the sound of. I like the sound when I place my finger closer to the ding, but you can also place it further away. Here I find it's a little bit purer. So just experiment with moving a little bit and striking. In fact, you can start to hear that if I strike opposite, some of that, more of that octave is coming through, right? But it's not quite as pure. So now, if I move my finger over to the shorter line in this imaginary cross and place it gently, I'm not pressing, and then strike on 90 degree from there, now we've got that nice pure octave tone. And then we can practice moving between those 2. Now, how pure the sound is will also depend a little bit on the instrument that you've got as well, and not every instrument activates harmonics quite as nicely as others, but for the most part, especially on the ding, you're definitely, if it's a well-built instrument, you're definitely going to be able to find those harmonics. So the same theory goes for any of the notes across the instrument. The higher the note, the harder it gets, and in some cases, actually, it's not possible, but in most cases it is. So we'll start on note 1. And again, you might find that depending on the way that it's built, the scale that you've got, some of your notes aren't exactly straight as you would expect them. So my note here is a little bit off center. So I imagine my cross going this way. So I'm going to find the bottom of that cross, strike on that 90 degree angle. Hear those harmonics. Same on any note. So I invite you to explore finding those. As you get higher up the instrument, it's going to get a little bit more tricky. You might have to just adjust where you place your finger a little bit. And how you strike as well. It's just coming through there. So that is the basics of harmonics. You can also cheat a little bit and actually place your finger in the middle of the note, again, without pushing. can still hear them. That takes away the need to be precise, as long as you're still striking on one of those axes. It's easier, but it's not quite as pure a tone, so it just depends on what kind of feel you're going for, what you want to achieve. So keeping to these two-handed harmonics then and bringing it back to the ding, depending on the material of your instrument, the way that it's been built, this is easier and more difficult on different instruments. But you can also get a nice bend in your harmonics. So if I rest my finger on one of these axes and strike on the other, and then press a little bit, you can hear that. Like so, right? This thing's a little bit stiff, so it's not quite as easy to bend, but this side gets a nice bend. And you can do this on notes as well, depending. A little bit tricky. Oh, strong on that one. Yeah, so have a little go experimenting with some of those bends as well, and introducing some of those into your grooves and your improvisations. You're not going to damage it as long as you don't go too hard too often, so don't worry too much about that. Alright, so two-handed harmonics and bends. Now let's explore how to do this with one hand. Different people do it in different ways. I'm going to teach you how I do it. So what I like to do is use my ring finger and place it on one of those axes. I'm going to strike with my pointer finger, and in order to do that, I'm going to be striking here with this part of my finger, and I've got my wrist raised in line with my arm, my hand is in line with my arm, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse the ring finger like this, bringing the palm of my hand closer to the instrument, keep my pointer finger straight, and contact the metal like so, bouncing straight away. My left hand. See how the ring finger is collapsing, and at the same time the pointer finger is straightening and striking. I struggle on the ding because my hands aren't very big and I can't actually reach. But if I put it in the middle, that little cheat code, right, then it works a bit better. So I have to use a different hand for that. So depending on the position of the note, you might need to use a different hand, do it in a different way. So that's how I play one-handed harmonics. I'm not massively practiced at the moment. Hands are a little bit shaky, so it takes a little bit of just finding the right point. And if you move on to a different instrument as well, you might find that the nuances are slightly different. So you might just need a moment to explore and find that perfect, that little sweet spot where the harmonic really shines through. So my challenge for you then is to see if you can introduce some of these into your simple grooves. Right? Start to explore how you might use those in context. Practice the actual motions and then put it into the context of the groove. Alright, enjoy, and I will see you tomorrow.